Good evening, friends and neighbors and friends. How's everybody doing on a Sunday night? Pretty good, I hope. Big stuff happening in the news, even though it's been about a week. It's still major headlines. The death of Senior Associate Justice Antonin Scalia of the U.S. Supreme Court, one of the most diehard conservative voices on that court. In fact, I can remember some of the best moments in law school just reading his opinions. I mean, the language he used, it was like having Rush Limbaugh on the court. You gotta look his stuff up and see what I mean. But what I'm really talking about is not so much Scalia himself, but the fact that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of the most liberal justices on the court, speaking so fondly of him and saying, despite their obvious differences, they were, quote unquote, best buddies. Best buddies? A conservative and a liberal on the U.S. Supreme Court? How could that even be? I mean, you just look through social networking and you see how that goes whenever anybody has a differing opinion in politics, philosophy, religion, or what have you. Say this word, oh, that means you're a racist. Say that word, oh, you're automatically a terrorist. Say anything I don't agree with you, then I have every right to humiliate, embarrass, and insult you, and in public especially, because I know everything and I need to teach you what's up. It's ridiculous. This is going on for several years now, but best buddies? That's what these two had. And these people are those whose opinions actually counted. I mean, when they thought something should be one way or this way on the U.S. Supreme Court, that could be the law of the land. Those are real consequences, not just running away with hurt feelings. But they were best buddies? How'd that happen? I have three educated guesses, as I've stated in the written blog. One, a little something called respect. Remember that? That little song by Aretha Franklin? Whenever those two, whatever they decided in their judicial opinions, it didn't extend beyond the four corners of what was released in the judicial reporters. They didn't taunt each other about how stupid they thought the other side was. They didn't posture, they didn't pose. They didn't say, oh, somebody just has to be a loudmouth, so I'm going to do this. No finger pointing, no name calling. They just didn't make it personal. Ooh, that's a snazzy, jazzy concept right there. Number two, there was understanding. Ginsberg said that after she read Scalia's dissenting opinion and see how he would attack the weaknesses in her findings, she would go back and make her opinion even stronger. Those dissents made her aware of the weaknesses in her ruling, so she was able to cover them and handle them and finagle them so much better. It certainly didn't mean that she was going to kowtow down to what Scalia thought or that he was the superior intellect. It meant that she learned how to write a better opinion because she saw the opposing argument for what it was. Number three, one of my favorite words, boundaries. To expand on what was already stated in section 1 involving respect, there are times that, believe it or not, you gotta keep it in check. Okay? Maybe give it a rest. Maybe save it for some other time. Maybe just because you feel that way is not carte blanche to start the great American debate all the time just because you gotta have a mouth. Okay? You know, as betas, sometimes we get intimidated into just staying silent because we don't want to ruffle any feathers, we don't want to offend anybody. And then when we do work up the guts to actually say one thing that's on our mind, right or wrong, we're not always prepared for what comes our way when we say it. It could be an onslaught of opposition or criticism, and we're not ready for that because that takes a whole extra set of guts to get ready for that too. So can you have differing opinions with friends? If you're willing to abide by those three suggestions I just recited, then most likely, yeah. Those other people out there, they don't have to be nice. They don't have to be as respectful or as mature as two Supreme Court justices. But then again, you don't have to associate with them if they won't get in line. Now, don't get me wrong. If they don't hold back from the personal attacks on you, especially in front of an audience, don't feel guilty about knocking them down at least one peg or two. Nevertheless, no amount of proof is going to make these people change their tunes, so don't waste your time trying to be a hero. Just do what's necessary to protect yourself, leave them behind, and find yourself some better people to associate with, you know? I don't mean only people who agree with you. Don't get that out of order. But you should only permit people who can respect your views. the way Scalia and Ginsberg respected each other in your realm. So that's my snazzy, jazzy commentary for tonight. I hope you got into it. And if you got any comments or any suggestions, or with respect, any opposing opinions, feel free to message me, comment, retweet, whatever you got to do. You know, I'd like to get a little more commentary out there. Bolt Betas!